Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Table Talk, here brought to you by the Game Table Cafe. I will be your host tonight, Victor, and I have a couple guests with me to pick their brains a little bit. So why don't we start with, at least on my screen, I don't know how it's going to come across, but on to my top area, let's go with Chris and Katie. Go ahead and introduce yourselves real quick.
I'm Carnon the Barbarian, also known as Chris. Chris Neck. I'm a SaaS programmer at Highmark, supporting our sales department. I'm generally fairly extroverted as far as just social interactions go. I want everybody to have a good time. How did I get into gaming?
Well, let's slow it down a little bit, Chris. We'll get to that. Just get the general introduction. And who is the lovely lady beside you?
I'm Katie. I do digital marketing. I've been officially gaming for about 1.5 years now.
Ah, nice to have a newbie then in the mix here.
Yeah.
Are you all right down there?
Yeah. I just had a grackle land not a foot from me, and I'm like, oh, why, hello there. So, hi, I'm Alana. I am a DB2 mainframe programmer at Faire. I also use SaaS, but I use it on the mainframe. Huh. And I've been gaming, lordy, since I was very young. Let's go with 20s. I'm not 20s anymore. And I'm currently sitting outside because my wife is gaming inside. So I'm not sure if it's going to rain. I might have to do a quick scurry at some point.
Lana, what's the, you said a DD2 mainframe?
DB2. It's a type of database. It's on a mainframe.
What do you have to use for programming?
So we use a language called COZ, C-O-Z, and it's kind of like SQL wrapped around spoofies, wrapped around JCL, all up on the mainframe. So.
Oh, okay.
Geek.
Right. It's where I work at. It's all Microsoft City, so it's like pure SQL.
I will refrain from commenting.
It's not by my choice.
Dude, I know assembler. Okay, I'm that old.
I don't want to go on a real nerd tangent, but years ago in college, I was doing some learning computer programming, and when I got to a class to learn COBOL, I was like, "That's it. I'm done. I'm switching my major." I went to communications because I'm like, I am not going to sit at a desk all day programming. Yeah, it came full circle. I'm a programmer.
Our COBOL skills are big in the money right now.
Yeah. Well, Chris was starting to go into it a little bit here. So I kind of wanted to start off.
And I'm an introvert.
Introvert. Well, let's go kind of into the next question then, talking about an introvert versus extrovert, because I always like to know what other people think about when they're gaming at an open place like the cafe or convention. And I'm always kind of curious how individuals think about joining other people's games or inviting others into their game. So, as an introvert, tell us what's kind of your thoughts on that, Alana?
So I'm much less likely to join somebody else's game, but generally when my wife and I are at the game table, we always have the, looking for players, little meatball up. Because I'm happy to have other people want to join us, but I'm not going to go out and join them.
Okay.
And particularly if it's a game that I know well, that we're playing like for the 83rd time, come on in, I'll teach you how to play it.
Okay.
But generally speaking, because I'm an introvert, I need to then afterwards go somewhere else to relax and get my recharge on.
So let's say it's a game that but you don't know the people, and you walked in and they were like, "Hey, would you like to join us?" So let's say you knew the game, would you join?
Yeah, if I know the game, I'll probably join.
But if you don't know the game, you're just like, maybe not.
I'm meeting somebody here. That's okay.
Okay,
oh, look.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, Chris, I'm pretty sure I know how you roll with this, but go ahead and tell us.
Roll.
So, what's your thoughts? Joining into another game or?
Oh yeah, I mean, I have no problems with people jumping in. I mean, especially if it's like the party game style, saying anything apples to apples. There's people where you can almost even jump in the middle of a game. At the cafe, I do like the signs that Alana was mentioning before with the looking for players there.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's obviously I have no problem, it's trying to invite people into the games or, asking if I can jump into somebody else's game.
What about Katie?
Yeah, so I'm probably more with Alana. I'm definitely introvert as well. So if I walked in the cafe, you'd probably find me grab a game and go run in the corner and play by myself.
Come play with me.
I knew.
Introverts unite.
Yes, in our own separate corners.
Where it's like, don't talk, let's just play a game.
Right. Please come play this game with me. Don't worry. I won't talk at all.
Don't ask me any questions. Unless it's game related.
No, tell us about yourself.
And it is nice to meet new people. But it's like you were saying before, it's one of those, like if you play with somebody new or a game you're just learning, then it's nice to kind of go back to the people that you know, the games that you know, and just kind of get back into that safe zone a little bit too.
Right.
Yeah, especially if it's a new game. I think everybody likes to learn it from kind of their core group, because everybody kind of has their core group.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whether or not it's in your case, if it's your wife or whoever else you.
Well, Chris, let's segue into that. You said about learning a game. So tell us, how do you prefer to learn a new game? Would you rather read a rule book yourself, let someone teach you, maybe watch a video?
I have been appointed the teacher of kind of our core group. There's a guy in our group that would routinely get new games just check out the new hotness from the geek or whatever. And it's like, hey, I got this new game. I don't know anything about it. I couldn't tell you anything about it, but hey, Chris, here's the rules. And that's a rule I've kind of embraced.
Now, so then if someone does that to you and just kind of hands you the rules, are you kind of like fine with your core group kind of just sat down at the table, you just got out the rules for this brand new game, and then you're going to literally sit there and like learn it there in the spot?
Yeah.
that's like one
that doesn't work.
Right.
It's hard mode.
But kind of like if you're looking at an hour and a half-ish game, which is kind of what we like to stick to anyway.
Right.
Then, I mean, those are games that you can probably learn and teach in 10 minutes, 15 minutes from scratch even. So it's like, okay, figure out what the pieces are, go through the rule book, and it's like, okay. And everybody's kind of pitches in. It's like, okay, hey, it's everybody kind of knows, oh, there's all these green houses over here. I'm going to sort them. Well, the blue houses, I'm going to sort them over there.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And, obviously just sorting components, you can kind of figure it out as it goes too sometimes with that.
That makes me think of something I had happen once, Chris. Learning a game at the table, like sitting down to learn it right there in the spot.
Yeah.
I started reading the rules and the other guy that was with me, he started sorting all the meeples by color. And literally, just as he finished separating all the pieces, I looked up from the rules, grabbed all of the pieces, and put them into a bag. Like they were not supposed to be sorted.
Let me guess, Clank.
No, it's a game called Vikings.
Oh, okay.
It was an older Euro game. It doesn't have a ton of pieces, but it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's like, well, sorry, but they're supposed to be random.
We played through 3 times on Clank before we actually got it right. Because the first time we were like putting the dragon back in each time and like putting all the cubes back in, and
the Dargans are staying hungry then.
It was a mess.
No food for the Dargan.
You know, that brings another question up to me, Alana, then, that I kind of curious then. So let's say you're in the middle of playing a game, and let's just say it's like hour and a half game, and you're like halfway through the game, and you suddenly realize that you've been playing it wrong, like some particular rule. What do you usually do with that?
We then declare it a house rule and keep going.
Okay.
We're like, let's see how it works. It may work out.
That's
or it
good.
may be more amusing.
Nice.
I mean, that's what happened with the Clank, basically. We were like halfway through the first time, and we were like, oh, wait a minute. And we just kept going with what we had been doing. And then the second time when we messed it up again, we're like, okay, so this is the second iteration.
We always like to say you put an asterisk on that one. That game really didn't count.
Yeah. It's kind of like Babe Ruth. Doesn't really count.
So, Lana, how do you what's your preference for learning?
So my wife will not let me get my hands on a rule book. She, as soon as we open the box, she's like, oh, rule book. And I'm like, all right, fine. So
would that be your preference, is to read the rules yourself, or is it better for someone to teach you?
I like somebody to teach me, but I also prefer to like watch the video. Like I do a lot of the tabletop stuff, like the Will Wheaton ones.
Right.
And like the Let's Play. That's another good series.
Right.
I just realized I have a dish towel over my shoulder. So, but yeah. Because sometimes when my wife reads the instructions, she gets it a little wrong. But, she has redeeming values.
There you go. And now, Katie, since you're the new person to the gaming, and I'm assuming being with Chris, he's already got a lot of this stuff probably figured out. So, are you even up for reading the rules at all?
I mean, I can read, but I haven't seen a rule book. Much like Alana there, I have not seen a rule book.
Right? Right?
They just don't exist. So
yeah, as far as I'm concerned, like rule book, what's that?
No, but it is nice to have a good teacher because Chris is good at going through games. So it's nice to be able to like play with him first and then take it to like club or something so that I can kind of get the rules down and then go and play with other people.
Oh,
and
cool.
sometimes that doesn't work out, but especially with multiplayer games. But
that's one of the things I love about the cafe, though, because at Game Table Cafe they teach you stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we're like, if Jocelyn's obviously reading a rule book, Tom or Bill or Jillian will come over and be like, "Hey, have you played that before?" If I'm like, "No," then they know that we need some help with it. If I'm like, "Nah, we're good," they know that we can figure it out. They're not pushy about it, but they're also looking to help. So that's nice.
I'm actually glad you just kind of said that, because I'm the type of individual who I will be in playing one game and look over at another table and see someone reading rules, and I'm like, I just want to go over there and teach that game to them real quick. Like, it's like I'm just kind of like, I want to see people playing the game. So I'm actually that's kind of interesting. I said you brought that up. What is if someone was to just willingly like walk up and be like, "Hey, I could teach that to you," like, what's your kind of thoughts on it? Do you just want to get playing, or is it kind of like, no, I don't kind of leave me alone, I don't want to be bothered? Or
it depends on what the purpose of us being there is. like sometimes if we're there as like a date night, then part of the fun is figuring stuff out together.
Okay.
You know, if we're there for lunch and decide to pull out a game, then yes, by all means, teach me something.
Gotcha. Okay.
Maybe an addition would be a nice, like, you know how we have like the looking for players?
Right.
Teach me a game.
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
You know, and then if you're like just there for lunch or something, you can use the breadstick games, which are like the 15, 20-minute ones.
Right.
And, you know, it's nice. But yeah.
Cool.
I'm always up for being taught.
Well, Chris, I don't even know if you need to be taught then. I feel like a lot of times you're either going to know it or you're just going to want to read them, right? Read the rules yourself then.
I'm going to be the guy that's going to walk to the table and says, hey, hey, would you prefer me teach you this?
Right.
and that's legit. I mean, go for it.
Yeah.
Like that's handy.
Well, yeah. Cool. I mean, if you say no, you'd rather learn it yourself, that's perfectly fine too. I mean, I don't take offense to that.
Yeah.
I'd love to see like an afternoon where it's like teaching, you know, and it's like, if you know, like, you know, Victor, you got all those games there. I'm sure you know how to teach a lot of those.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe, you know, you and Chris and other people that know games, in addition to just the employees, can also be like, hey, I'm willing to come over from 2 to 7 on a Saturday and teach people games that I know.
Now, I have in the past, and just because my life has changed a little bit in this past year, I don't have as much time for it, but I do, you know, I'd run demos at the cafe. And sometimes, though, it is like, I don't necessarily find myself to be like a pushy salesperson. So I'm not going to be the, carnival barker to say, like, come over here and play this. So, you know, I don't want to bother people, but I do want to teach people games. So,
yeah.
It's not a bad idea. Why don't we let's switch to and have Katie go first on it. What is it about playing board games and tabletop games? Like, why do you keep playing them? Is it to socialize? Is it like you like the puzzle of figuring it out? You know, is it like a brain exercise? What interests you in it?
Yeah, I think it's probably the brain exercise and figuring it out and trying to figure out strategies, and not necessarily that you have to win every game, but trying to figure out like how you can do better the next time or how you can optimize something for next time. So it's nice to say like, okay, well, I played this game once like a year ago, and now we've played it 20 times, and now I'm a whole lot better at it than I was, you know, so it's not necessarily you have to win every time, but at least I can now keep up with Chris and others who are, you know, like long time gamers. So that to me is like the fun part of it. And it's just a nice social activity too. It's a good like low impact way to get around other humans. It's an acceptable way to people for me.
Yes. You are an introvert, aren't you?
Yes.
I was talking with another friend just lately, and he's an introvert, and he kind of brought that up, kind of a similar point, Katie. It was just kind of like gaming's a nice way for an introvert to like, it's like an excuse to socialize more or less for an introvert.
But you have like a built-in conversation starter. You don't have to like talk about the weather or how much COVID-19 sucks, or, you know, something like everybody knows. You know, it's like, oh, okay, here's how to play the game. Oh, look, that card came up, you know, whatever it might be. So it's a good, like, you don't even have to have a real conversation.
And it has a built-in time limit.
Yeah.
I got a thought. You said it gives you a conversation starter. I think I want to like pull out some, like, with a person that I really don't know very well, pull out some like old war game and like start being like, so what are your political views on the War of 1812?
Bye, Victor. Have a nice day.
Right.
Anywhere else right now.
What are your socioeconomic views during this time period? Go.
How do you feel about the War of the Roses? Lancaster, New York.
That's actually a board game that I need to add to my collection.
Yeah.
I think it was I think it's called War of the Roses. Yeah, I just remind you, I have to look that one up later. Anyways, I need more games like this.
Yeah, clearly.
So
There's
Lana,
still space on the shelf.
Yeah.
actually, because I'm like
I
clearing
see
some
some
stuff
over here.
Right there's some.
Is it on the floor over there in the corner?
I'm rearranging. So Lana. Gotcha, Bill.
Okay.
So we have the viewing audience, we have the voice of Bill from the cafe here. He chimes into our ear. So Tom, the game table cafe owner, likes Alana's idea for like signs for teaching. So Alana, why do you game then?
I game as a socialization method. Originally, I had started out. So you got to understand, my dad was very meticulous when it came to things like chess and Scrabble and stuff like that. And in our house, Trivial Pursuit was a contact sport. We must have had like 8 different versions of it. And it was always me and my dad against my mom and my sister. And we had a great time. So like my entire childhood kind of rotated around board games. So then I found D&D in college.
Okay.
Because who didn't? And then I just started, playing more board games, and kind of fell out of the track for a while during my first marriage. That was a lot of Magic the Gathering. Yes, I had a Betamax jet.
Wow.
Right? Wish I still had it. Be a nice down payment.
Yeah, really.
But yeah, at one point I had the Power 9. But my ex-husband owned Card Stadium West up there on the Carlisle Pike.
Oh.
So we were into Magic, and he was a judge and all this stuff. So did I mention he's an ex-husband? But after that, I kind of got back into board games. And, a lot of like the comfortable ones, like the Trivial Pursuits and things like that, the quiz stuff, Cards Against Humanity. And then when the Game Table Cafe opened up, I think I was their first customer because I was there before they were open. They were actually doing a staff training day. And I showed up, I'm like, hey, this looks interesting. So we've had annual passes for the last 3 years from there. And before all this, we used to go every Friday night. And it was just a nice date night for my wife and I,
Right. So then would you then actually say that for board games then, you're kind of newer then to it, really?
Yeah, I'd say I'm definitely newer to board games.
Okay.
Like when we started going, we started off mainly with a lot of the breadstick games, the ones that are like 15 to 20 minutes, 2 players, really easy. And I keep wanting to point over your shoulder to where they would be on the wall at game table.
Right, they would be on the side, right?
There, yeah. But yeah, and which I love how they have them split up at game table. Mm-hmm. It's like, these are the 15 to 20 minute ones. These are the light strategy, heavy strategy, etc. So yeah, I'm fairly new to a lot of these board games.
Okay.
I'm not even sure I've played Catan yet.
That's there's I feel like there's these key board games that you kind of are supposed to have played once you kind of get into the hobby.
Yeah,
Catan,
everybody's played that.
Right. One of those is I always feel people bring up is Puerto Rico. And I mean, I have, obviously been in this for a couple of years now and I've played all these games, and I only played Puerto Rico one time, and it was only maybe a year or so ago.
Huh.
I mean, there's just so many games now, right?
Yeah, I mean, my first time playing Pandemic was actually the first live stream during the pandemic.
Wow.
And we won.
Nice. That gives us hope.
Yep. There is hope. You can beat the pandemic.
That's maybe sometime after this is all done, we could practice the other side of it. I have a game called Plague Inc.
Oh,
Which you were actually playing as the diseases trying to kill the world.
brilliant.
Yeah, it's based off of actually a computer game or an app game, but they made a board game version.
It feels like a little too much PTSD involved there, but maybe.
Too soon.
Need to put a new card in there. Social distancing.
Exactly.
Oh, darn.
Wash your hands.
Yep,
Right.
hand washing.
What about you, Chris? Why do you play games?
I mean, the co-op games are obviously very much of a puzzle, and the brain exercise of solving that puzzle.
And chicks dig it.
Recently, I've gotten into the Arkham Horror LCG, and that's very much a puzzle aspect of how do I build this deck to solve the problem that I need to solve by playing the game. So I certainly enjoy that. I certainly enjoy the socialization, the sitting back and just having fun, laughing, whatever, playing the party game.
You laughing during a board game? I don't believe
it. Never happens, Victor.
For people who don't know, Chris, you'll know Chris is there.
Yeah.
Being in any room. Oh, Chris is over there.
You hear me before you see me.
Yeah. But that means you're having a good time, right?
Yeah.
Chris, you brought up co-op games, but I know you play a bunch of different stuff. What's your like favorite style game? Like what's like kind of like the perfect style game for you?
I've honestly, there's a lot. I mean, there's the engine building style games. I do tend to gravitate more towards. Race for the Galaxy, more recently Terraforming Mars, has been fairly popular, obviously. I picked up a game that was called Progress. That's engine building with tech trees, basically. Those types of things are fun. Most medium, light to medium style weighted games are kind of up my alley. I don't care for like the ones where you're trying to backstab everybody.
Yeah.
Most of the rest are my jam.
Okay. So no Battlestar Galactica for you?
No.
Game of Thrones?
No. I don't know if you remember Alistair, but he tried to teach us Game of Thrones before, and I was having none of it. It was not at all my game.
Yeah, that's the Game of Thrones ones too. That you better be able to learn that quickly because it's like a 4-hour game. So you better know real early, if that's going to be your thing or not.
Yeah.
Right. Very, very accurate.
How about Katie? What is your kind of favorite style game or thing in a game? Do you like co-ops? Do you like deck builder games?
Yeah, kind of like Chris was talking about. I'm really big into the engine building games. He mentioned Terraforming Mars. I also like puzzle games. So we found one recently called Isle of Cats. It's really fun. That basically you're trying to fill in like a grid. So kind of like if you think about like Azul as being like a basic kind of puzzle game or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's not the exact same, obviously, but something kind of like that style of game.
Isle of Cats.
Yeah, I'm taking notes here.
I'm a full picture. Oh, it's kind of got like those like Tetris like pieces.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
and you get like cards that tell you what you're like, how many of a certain color you're supposed to put in there, and it's fun.
It feels kind of like a Patchwork or King Domino kind of thing.
Yeah. I definitely got a Patchwork vibe from Isle of Cats.
Yeah.
King Domino's fun too.
Also,
And if you have a cat, the inside of the box tells you to put your cat in the box while you're playing. So
Nice.
it's also kind of cheeky.
Nice. See, I like that. I like games that have attitude.
And it's a thick box. It's a well-designed box, so that would fit.
Yeah.
And
Good.
wouldn't break. Probably.
Now, Alana, you brought up then saying that you played a lot of breadstick games, but
Yeah.
as you got into them more, are you still kind of shoot for the shorter games, or? But you also brought Clank.
Yeah. Clank is a more extensive game. One of my favorite games, which I have consistently beat my wife at, which might make it my favorite, is Firefly.
Oh.
And that can take like 3-4 hours.
I was gonna say
That's a fairly extensive one.
That's the one where you're flying all over the space, and
Yes.
there's decks and decks and decks of cards.
Yep, and you can be either Imperial or it's nice. And it's very true to the mythos of the Firefly Galaxy.
Right.
And I really like it. And oddly enough, there's actually, you can pick the missions that you want to complete. So like, the end game achievement.
Mm-hmm.
You can pick from like 6 or 8 of them. And one of them allows for a 1-player game.
Have you played it one player?
Yes, I have, and I beat myself. Cool. No. But no, it's great. It really is. I really enjoyed it.
That's one I played that once, and I'm wondering if we got a particular rule wrong. So let me know.
Okay.
We were playing that if you're going on a mission,
mm-hmm.
and then at some point when you do the attempt to complete the mission,
right.
if we failed, do you completely get rid of the mission because you failed it, or are you allowed to reattempt it?
I think you have to get rid of it.
I think that's what we were doing wrong, because we were just reattempting it.
Yeah.
And at some point, one of us like looked up like, oh, are we supposed to just get rid of the mission?
I'm pretty sure you're supposed to get rid of it.
That makes it so much harder.
Well, now bear in mind though, you can pick them up on any station.
That's true.
So I mean, and you can pick through like 3 of them at a time, and you can hold up to however many your ship tells you can hold.
All right.
So, you're holding 3 at a time. Now, the only problem is also some of those, when you fail them, have dire consequences.
Yeah.
Not just throwing away the card, but other really bad things happen.
Yep.
If you put the wrong people in that game, like, not the players, but the people that are in the galaxy, and it can, I certainly understand that sentiment. Because, as somebody who has no clue about the Firefly TV show.
It's like 11 episodes. How could you not watch it?
It's like, it's literally one season, and then it got canceled.
Yeah, it's literally one season. It's 11 episodes and a movie, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude,
but,
what else do you have to do?
I actually loved the game because I enjoyed it that much too. So even for people that aren't super into sci-fi lore or that type of thing, you can certainly still enjoy the game.
I mean, it's like Space Cowboy is the theme. It's kind of awesome.
And it's interesting that does kind of bring a point to Chris of games that, are they, if they're good enough to play when you don't really know like an IP, it does say something about the game. I played
define IP for people.
Intellectual property.
Okay.
So like, Firefly is an intellectual property.
Right.
Battlestar Galactica, that was one that I played the game before I ever watched the show. And
I'm not sure I've ever watched the show.
Well, technically, I still have to watch the final season. And some people are like, how dare you not finish it? And other people are like, don't bother.
Now, are you talking about the new show or the old show?
The new show.
Oh. There's an old show.
Oh, yeah, like what's
from like the 70s.
Right. Yeah. And then if you go looking for Battlestar Galactica, the board game, don't find the one from the original show, because it's like it's just like a roll and move or whatever, like Parker Brothers game. It's not good.
Yeah.
Huh. Well,
Firefly has a couple expansions to it, by the way.
That game needs multiple more hours now.
I'm just saying. Different plot lines.
Yeah, it would already take up a full room playing on the floor, you know?
We literally had to play it on the floor.
Yeah.
My dining room table was not big enough for it.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
I could do 2,000-piece puzzles on my dining room table, but not Firefly.
Too many cards.
Yeah, that's really what it was.
Yeah.
Well, let's why don't we go? I kind of go around a circle here, one at a time, and why don't you list off like. I don't like to put this as like your top 3 games because for me personally, it's hard to pick like my favorite 3 games. So, but just like give me like one game. We'll go through 3 games, but give me one now, and we'll start with Alana then. Like
Okay.
if someone was like, give me one of your maybe top 20 or something.
Well, I've already talked about Firefly, so I'm not going to count that.
All right.
That's my cheat, because otherwise I'd be talking about Firefly all night. I'm actually going to say Bunny Kingdom.
Okay.
Because it's got enough strategy to it that you're actually, you have to figure things out, but it's got bunnies. I mean...
Little plastic bunnies.
Yeah, I don't know what else to tell you, man. It's got bunnies and carrots.
Nice.
What else do you need?
Yeah, I mean, what else,
Cool. All right, how about Katie? What would be one of your top games?
So Chris is already laughing because it's pretty much the only game I ever talk about, which is Terraforming Mars. If you ask me what I want to play, he's like, just go get it. Fine, I'll play it again.
Haven't actually played that yet.
It's really fun.
So good.
As a 3-4 hour game, I think we've done it 3 times in a day before.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's
like on purpose.
That was my next question.
I mean, I guess if you started early in the day, I played some long games, but like, man, Terraforming Mars that many times, I feel like my brain would hurt a little bit.
Yeah, I played Arkham Horror one time.
That's a long game.
Yeah, it took like 3 hours just to set up the thing.
That is the Arkham problem.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Now, Chris, what would you pick as one of your favorite games?
Um,
I'm gonna write down some of my own guesses and see if they make your list.
I would say probably Merchant of Venus is fairly high up there. Kind of going on it's might have been why I liked Firefly so much, because it has a very similar mechanic to Merchant of Venus, where it's a
Pick up and deliver, right?
Yeah, it's pick up and deliver, and it's kind of route optimization.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, how can I pick up widgets over here and sell them somewhere else to make money the fastest?
Right.
that optimization puzzle just is my jam.
I already feel like I know the answer to this question, Chris, but I'll ask it anyways. Preference: newest edition or old edition?
To avoid the soapbox, say older edition. To Fantasy Flight's credit, they did release the original edition as part of their big box there.
Right.
With a couple very minor changes that are very easy to house rule back to what they should be.
Right.
Should be.
You got that, Alana, huh?
I got that.
But the graphics on the board on the new edition, I think I played the new version of the game exactly once. It took 6 hours. A normal game is 2.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because we were all new. We were cruising at that point. It was just turns just take that much longer.
Yeah. I've played Merchant of Venus once, and of course though I'm learning it, and I think one of the other people there was learning it, and I think we're at roughly like the 4-hour mark, and we were like, wait a minute, when does the game end? And then we were like, everybody there was just kind of like, let's move on to something else.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just
after you're playing a game for 4 hours like that. I mean, that's certainly a game that can go on and on and on if nobody knows the game.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like my teaching style, it's like if I'm teaching Katie a new game, or teaching anybody a new game for that matter, I'll teach them the rules. We'll start to play, and then I'll kind of nudge them. I'll kind of guide them a little bit. I'm not going to play their game for them. I'm going to let them figure it out for themselves. But if they're running down a rabbit hole that doesn't make any sense, I'm going to kind of nudge them back.
Right.
Chris, Katie just gave you a stink eye when you said that.
Don't get me in trouble.
She's like, really? You don't tell us what to do?
No, actually, he's really good at being helpful without being
pushy.
Like, here's what you need to do. We played with other people who are much more of that style, who like want to play your game for you, and if they don't agree with the rule with the choice that you're making, they're like, oh, how dare you? You know, kind of like, oh, you're just being stupid.
She's still in the house. I can say it. Yes, she does that.
Let me lose.
You know, then hey, I'll lose.
That is definitely a tough part of cooperative games, because if you're wanting to figure out the puzzle and you want to win,
right,
you don't want to step on someone else's toes.
Not quarterbacking is hard.
It is. It's especially when I feel like if you're really kind of really getting into the game and you're really getting into the theme and the flavor, and you're like, you could just feel it. You're like, you're right there, ready to win, and someone's going to do something to mess it up without because they're just maybe not choosing the right thing. You're like, I need to bite my lip.
Yeah.
All right, we'll just go with whatever you do.
Yeah, I could totally quarterback Pandemic, but I do my best not to.
All right, Alana, what's the second one you're going to give us?
The Forbidden series, like Forbidden Island, Forbidden Desert, because they're great co-op games. Yeah. And the way they're like, you're drowning or you're roasting alive, it very much gets you into the flavor of it.
Right.
And you're working together. And I swear, every time Jocelyn and I, my wife, every time we're like, if we win or lose, we're always triumphant about it. You know, there's always a yes or a no. It's just, it really gets you into it. You really feel like it's happening.
Have you played the latest one? Isn't Forbidden Sky?
So we saw that the time we were in right before everything closed down.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, we should play that next time we're in. Yeah. Although now that you mention it, I might see if they have it available for rental.
That's good. I'll be interested to end up hearing what you think of it. I haven't played it. I haven't played it yet, but I heard like mixed reviews on it.
Really?
So I don't know.
The other two were so spot on.
That's what like a lot of people. I guess they just had maybe they're set up for a certain expectation of what the game
could be
was. Yeah. But the Forbidden Sky, I think it literally adds like, I can't remember if there's like a battery or something in it. There's like an electrical part of it or something, or a circuit.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like physicality in the game that you have to physically put together.
Oh.
And the voice of Bill said, yes, it's available for rent.
Oh, good. So hold it for us. I'll be there tomorrow. Yeah, cool. In case you didn't know, you can rent stuff from the game table. It's kind of awesome.
That is kind of cool for people to still wanting to try something new, that stop in a cafe. And they're also doing, am I correct, Bill, that you guys are doing like takeout orders, right?
Oh, I can tell you, yes, they are.
only at certain times though, right? Online ordering, okay.
Yeah. I think it's 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., correct, Bill? Yes, I'm correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've been getting lunches from there and coffees and smoothies and stuff. So, yeah, I can tell you, yes, they're doing takeout.
Okay.
Oh, we have
So
to connect the circuitry to make the robot make the launch sounds.
Cool. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
give it
I'll
a
have
go.
to see how it works. Yes.
Cool.
Hold that for us tomorrow, Bill.
How about Katie? What's another one on your list? Top games.
So I've already mentioned a couple of my other favorite puzzle games, so I'll throw in Sagrada.
Oh, okay. Cool.
It's really colorful and shiny, which, unlike the clothes that I wear, is fun.
What's it called?
Sagrada. It's a stained glass.
So with, like, kind of see-through colorful dice, and you have to like put them in the paint in a certain way. It'll tell you like you have to put a 5 here, or you have to put a dice that's green over here, and then you get certain points based on certain objectives that you're trying to meet, the color that you're supposed to try to be focusing on, things like that. It's really
excellent.
So if you like Azul, I feel like it scratches the same itch as Azul.
Yeah.
And they have, I think Sagrada has two expansions.
Yeah, there's a handful of very small box expansions to that. Yeah, there's one expansion that kind of that pushes it to 5 to 6 players.
I think it's like a new color or something.
Yeah, not to steal your thunder. Yeah, sorry.
You know, Sagrada, I think is a really good game for an aspect that, some people don't like. Kind of like competitive, like, where you're going to be attacking each other. So they kind of like to have their own, figure out their own little puzzle. But I like that Sagrada just adds a little bit of an element where you're really hoping that a particular die is still there when it comes back to your turn. Yep. And then the person like right before you takes that die and you're like, no, no.
Every single time.
Right.
The one die you need is always the die somebody else wants.
Yeah.
All right, what's Chris got as his number 2?
I'm gonna put the Power Grid on that one because I actually went to school for actuarial science, and I'm a very much a math nerd. And I like math. So Power Grid. That's
how
you want math, the game.
That's how I explain it to people. I'm like, do you like math? Do you like adding the same numbers over and over? Like every time someone takes their turn, you have to re-add all these numbers?
It sounds like something my wife would like, honestly. She's a polymath.
It plays as a resource management game, I think. You get so much money, you're going to spend that, and then you choose how to spend that money. You can either buy better plants so that you can power more cities, or you can build more cities, or you can just hoard money.
It's a good one. It's like,
and
I think Power Grid starts to fall into that realm I said earlier about like once you kind of really start to get into the gaming world. And if someone's been playing for so many years and they go, I've never played Power Grid, I'm like, what? Like it's just one of those games that I think kind of it's going to be an all-time classic.
Oh yeah,
for just years.
Like, you were mentioning that earlier, like the games that everybody has to play. And it's like
yeah.
It's like Catan, Ticket to Ride.
Right.
I love Ticket to Ride.
I think Panda Game is pushing that list pretty well too. Takenoko.
Yes. Definitely Takenoko.
Yeah, which the
and on the breadstick side, Timelines.
The game was actually called, so she just learned to call it the Panda Game.
Alana, that's a good comment for such a great game series. You said there, Timeline.
Yeah, and it's nice because like once you start sorting it out as to so in case you don't know what Timelines is. It's you figure out like what happened first. Was it Einstein or was it the light bulb?
Right.
And sometimes you'll get stuff like, what was invented first? Fire or the Apollo 11 mission? And you're like, oh, gee, I don't know. But then you get to the point where it's like, well, 8 things happened in 1969.
Right.
So you're trying to figure out if it's 1969, 1970, 1971. But it's nice because they have different series for like, well, this is the, whatever. This is rock and roll edition.
Right.
This is Americana edition. This is arts edition.
I just want to get like a box. I wish they would come out with a box set that just has everything, and I want them all shuffled together.
You are a masochist, aren't you?
So I want all the cards, just mix them all together.
Aye.
All right. Is that your third, Alana, or you have something else for a third best?
I actually hadn't had that on my little list. But I've covered my three. My Forbidden Island is a co-op game, and that's why I like that. Bunny Kingdom and Firefly were my big ones.
Okay.
I also like King Domino.
Okay.
It's a nice, quick, easy to teach one. It's very similar to dominoes, so it's kind of, you're not really teaching somebody from scratch.
Right.
Oh, you've played dominoes? Well, then you know how this works.
Right.
Yeah, King Dominoes with colors, basically.
Yeah, it's dominoes with plants.
Right.
Yeah.
How about Katie? What would be your last one on your list?
Oh, I'll fangirl for TTR.
Ticket to Ride.
Yep. I like all the different maps. We recently got the new one for Italy, which is probably my favorite at the moment.
Okay.
But I feel like it was the game that I played before I met Chris that I was like, okay, this is like a real game.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about a lot of like, I had played, all the games growing up, the Yahtzee and the Parcheesi and the, all those games. Everybody.
Monopoly, Life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you cheat at Monopoly.
But then TTR felt like my first like real adult gateway board game.
Cool.
Yeah.
Like the real game universe. So it has a special place in my heart.
Aww.
I think a lot of old school, I want to call them old school gamers, but like gamers in the modern board game age that have been playing for quite a few years, they're going to say that Catan is like the ultimate gateway game.
Yeah.
And every time I'll gladly get into a debate about this because I firmly believe Ticket to Ride is the better gateway game.
Yeah.
So, and interesting, I just popped my head too, Katie. When I first was getting into board games, I went to this game group in the Colonial Park area at this church, and there was a guy named Chris, and he was like, "Hey, come play Ticket to Ride Europe."
Nice.
So that was Chris taught me Ticket to Ride Europe, and that was one of the first modern games that I ever played and bought. So yeah, I guess that was kind of close to my gateway game.
Okay, so I'm going to throw out two more of my favorite games, and only because no, bear with me. Only because they're not technically modern games.
Okay.
Okay. Mancala.
Okay.
And Nine Men's Morris.
That I do not know.
Okay. It's been played from like pre-BC on. And it can be played just by drawing lines in the dirt with stones, and it's great.
It looks like a simplified version of Go.
It kind of is. So basically, it's there's a placement set of it, and then a movement part. So first, you're trying to place your stones in more advantageous connection points, and then you're trying to move them to block off the other person's possible moves.
I've never heard of this.
It's very awesome. There's a couple different versions of it. 9 Men's Morris, I think 13 Men's Morris. But yeah, it's fantastic. My wife and I do medieval recreation, so we know a lot of the older stuff. And Mancala, of course, is just, putting stones into basically divots in a tray or in the dirt.
Right.
And those are two games that if you look them up, you can play them anywhere. You don't need a special board for them.
Right.
You can use dirt, you can use pebbles, and you're good to go.
I mean, Mancala is definitely always going to be there for old classic games, and to the point where there's sometimes I'll be teaching a particular modern game, and I'm like, all right, so this game really is just a kind of a Mancala thing, and people will go, oh, okay.
Yeah, because everybody's played that to some extent. Whether they realize it or not, they might not know what it's called, but they're like, oh yeah, that thing with the pockets and the stones. Yeah, that one.
Cool.
It's also a good drinking game.
All right,
You
Chris.
can edit that out if you need to.
What's your number 3, Chris?
My third one would say, I'd probably say the Crayon Rails, Empire Builder,
Oh, yeah.
Insert Country here Rails. Just because they have a ton of them for India, China, Australia,
Nice.
Japan.
I had my list for you of what I wrote down as possibilities. I put down Mysterium, an Arkham horror related game, and then I just put down the word railroad.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I do enjoy the broad term of railroad games for the most part, where you're think Ticket to Ride, but on steroids, because you can build your track wherever you want.
Oh, nice.
Instead of being linked, okay, I need 3 orange cards to build from Chicago to New York.
All right.
No, everything's converted to money, and you can build however you want. It just costs some amount of money.
Okay.
There's just something about the Crayon Rails one that just bugs me. Like, I just feel like it just seems wrong that I'm like using crayons to draw on this like thing.
Crayons, like you're a kid.
It's just it's like because I want to color with them, and I feel like I want to color in, like make boxes or something. And I had one other question that came up in my mind from earlier, so I was kind of curious then about it. What would you say is you could say the time and or the game, but I was curious, what is like the longest individual game that you've played? If you could think of one. Like, I know for me, it's probably, I think 9 hours I've played Twilight Imperium 3.
Of a single game?
It was one game and it took about 9 hours.
I mean, I take it we're not counting like D&D campaigns, right?
Oh, no. Yeah, I mean,
that's like 3-4 years.
Yeah, that doesn't. No, I'm saying like an individual, like one board game session. You know, you plop this down on the table and.
Arkham Horror, 6 hours.
Wow.
We call that Arkham Investment.
Okay.
We were about what felt like 6 or 7 hours into a game of 18xx when I couldn't take it anymore. And it was just like, we've got to go get something to eat. I'm going to get really crabby here soon.
Yeah,
Can we please just call it whoever's in the lead? I don't care anymore.
Katie gets hangry.
I think we were 8 hours in and we still had another 2.
Oh, God.
Minimum. And it was
I think the only reason we quit at 6 hours, and we did end up quitting, was because we still had to drive back from Philadelphia.
Oh.
Because it was actually media outside of Philly. Yeah. And we had gone down with our friends to their place. They actually set it up before we got there. And we got there at like noon and left at like 7. So, I mean, there was some BSing in between.
Oh, yeah, right.
Sure. Yeah, Arkham Horror is one of those games where if you don't know it at all and you have a big crowd, then you'll be there for years.
Yeah, there was like 7 of us, and only the guy who owned it knew it.
Oh, Jesus.
So, thank you. Yes, exactly. So the rest of us were coming new to this.
As much as I'm a fanboy of Arkham, like Victor was saying before, holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know the Arkham Horror mythos, you know, but yeah. That was a game.
Mm-hmm. 13. So we got from our YouTube live stream chat, Brian is commenting and saying 13 hours for his first time playing Twilight Imperium. There's a whole series of games based in the 1800s, and so they kind of you initially will say, oh, the 18XX because it could be like, oh, we're playing 1868. Or, oh, no, let's not play 1868. It's much better if we play 1872. And I'm just making up stuff there.
Yeah.
But they are the 18XX then series are economic railroad games.
Okay. That's cool.
That is definitely, the 18XX series has always got me like, I don't know if I'm that level of railroad, like board game nerd.
7 games of Ticket to Ride in that time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a game best played on a computer, because there's so much just like, almost like where if you're playing like a miniatures game, there's so much like, okay, you need to measure to the fraction of a millimeter.
Oh God.
Right.
18XX is I need to measure to $10.
Right.
When everything else is in the thousands.
So Warhammer 40K, don't even get me started.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a
It's
miniatures
too much.
gamer because I don't want to be measuring all that stuff.
That takes over like entire rooms.
That's like an absolute fantastic game that I've played that's very long. I think I've played in person. I've played the game through the ages. I've played, I think, 3 times. And each time it was about 8 hours.
Wow.
Through the Ages is an absolute fantastic game, but I swear I think the next time I want to get together and play with people, I'm going to be like, all right, everybody, we're going to meet here, physically be at the same table, but everybody bring your iPad. And we're going to play the game on our iPad because there's so much little like moving the cubes around and so much maintenance that it just eats up time from it.
Yeah, and that's what 18XX felt like for I think both me and Katie. It was more of a chore than a game.
Right.
Yeah. And it gets really frustrating when you're like kind of like, okay, whose turn is it?
Right.
It's just like
you could take a nap in between turns.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Nap.
You really could.
And it's like that's what I was experiencing with Arkham Horror. It's like, there were 7 of us around the table. We couldn't really sit because we like literally it was a 12-person dining room table and the whole thing was spread out with Arkham Horror.
Right.
And we're like, I just took my turn. I go to take a bio break, get something to drink, maybe come back. And it's only been like 2 people down.
Right.
Okay, let me take a nap.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating.
A couple more.
The church that Victor you were talking about earlier over on the East Shore. One room we game in a lot of times has like it's sofa and chairs where you could lay down and take a nap if you want. Not that anybody's done that before.
No, of course not.
Not me.
Well, that's all the questions I had lined up for you guys.
Awesome.
Hey, I feel like it's been great getting to see some faces again, some familiar faces again. And also I keep saying with doing these interviews that I like doing this and I don't mind spending time doing this because I want to get to know people a little bit more. And because there's been so many people that I've gamed with that I literally just know that they play games. And so like, that's it. And so I like to get to know people a little bit more and find out a little bit more of what people think, how they tick. I like to try to at least think that not everybody thinks exactly like I do. So it's good.
So I like to throw axes in my spare time. No, really, I have a target in the yard.
What's like, so I've tried to throw, like I've gone to like the Ren Fair and I'll have like a thing set up to like throw axes.
No.
What's like the way to like hold them or is it all on the wrist?
Okay, no, it's actually, you want to make sure that the haft of the axe comes right to the bottom of your hand here.
Okay.
So that's how you're throwing it. It's just straightforward. A lot of people will do what I call chicken winging. And they'll like have their elbow out here you want your elbow straight forward. So when it comes forward, you just release straight.
Okay.
The problem with the Ren Fair and places like that is they don't give you a chance to set your own range. It should be a 10 and a half foot rotation. And they're always like, here's our 8 foot distance. No. So yeah. After this is over, you'll come to our backyard. You can throw with us. Have fun. No, I'm serious.
Throw a bunch of axes.
Yeah, we have axes, knives, and spears.
Nice.
Not even kidding.
I watched literally right before this whole COVID thing. I remember watching a video clip with a coworker about a guy who was straight up like large game hunting with a spear, and I'm like, wow, like that was just so cool to see.
Was he using a boar
hunting.
spear? Did it have a pusher on the front of it?
He was. I don't know. It was just
a boar spear prevents the game from running up the spear. You want to have a crossbar at the bottom of the spear to keep them from running up the spear.
Just look like I don't know. I guess I wasn't that into it. I was just like, oh, this guy's hunting with a spear. That's cool.
Because boar will just run right up the spear.
Huh.
Yeah, they're
cool.
mean animals.
Well, Chris, do you have anything as awesome as axe throwing at the last second?
Sorry, man, I didn't mean to.
I know.
Katie, do you have anything? Like, it's in the chat comment. Wait, she does throw axes?
Yeah, I do.
That's awesome.
I mean, yeah, why not?
Katie, you got anything as interesting as axe throwing?
Definitely not as interesting as axe throwing. No, I'm in comparison to axe throwing.
It's fun. You guys should come do it with us.
Boy, I feel like depending on where you're throwing axes, you're gonna get the police called on you.
Time zone.
No, it's our backyard. I won't tell you where our backyard is on the live stream, but I'll tell you where it is later. Suffice it to say, there's nothing behind us.
Okay.
And we have netting up behind the target face.
Well, any other last things you guys want to throw out there? Any last comments, things you want to plug? I don't know. People are always saying where they're found on Twitter and stuff, which, whatever.
If I can plug the Society for Creative Anachronisms, SCA.org.
Okay.
It's a group that does medieval recreation worldwide. There's about 50,000 members. And I belong to the local group. My wife and I do. And I'm a thrown weapons marshal and an archery marshal.
This is the Society for Creative Anachronisms.
And I do name research. So.
Yeah, cool.
It's everything pre-1600 you ever wanted to know.
Nice. Chris, you want to plug your, once we get done with these COVID-19 deal, are you going to back to the game group?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, the meetup that Victor mentioned earlier on the East Shore, on meetup.com, there's a Central PA Game Club.
Okay.
Is the name of the group, and it's second and fourth Saturdays on just Route 22 in Colonial Park.
There's a church behind Best Buy, right?
On the meetup itself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know where that is.
Cool.
But yeah, twice a month, just game meetup. It's 10 to 10. No, free to come play. You don't have to pay anything. Show up whenever. I will say that, like, if you come in the evenings, if you come earlier in the day, there's more people.
Okay.
Okay.
There will be a lot more people there at the beginning of the day, and then people will kind of gradually
Hangry.
Get hangry.
They'll drop around 5.
Dinner time.
It's maybe 15 people around, like, early afternoon.
Oh, nice.
Maybe 5 or 10 in the evening.
As one there's one quick question from the chat then. Any favorite new game that you want to throw out?
Underwater Cities?
I haven't played that, but I've heard a lot lately about it.
I'm going to go with Throw Taco.
Throw Taco?
Yeah, it's by the guys who made
is that-
Exploding Kittens. Yeah.
It's literally.
It's literally.
It's a burrito.
Yes, it's a burrito. Is it throat burrito? That might be what it is. Yeah, it's literally a stuffed burrito, and you know, when you're stuck with your spouse and nobody's leaving the house, sometimes you just want to throw a burrito at them.
All right, sounds good. All right, thanks again, everybody, for joining. This is great. I hope you guys had a fun time being on here. This is fun getting to talk to some gamers. So.
Certainly, yeah.
Thanks for having us.
This was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Victor.
Yes, Voice of Bill letting people know. Please subscribe to the Game Table Cafe YouTube channel.
Like and subscribe. Click the bell.
Right, because they're doing they posting like live plays. And I guess we'll plug that too, that the Game Table Cafe, of course, has their Discord that's going on, so you can find people to do some online gaming. Takinoko at 2 tomorrow.
Yeah, the Discord's amazing. All kinds of fun people there. And for those of you who play Pokemon Go, the Game Table Cafe is now a Pokestop. 2 of them.
Sweet.
Indeed.
Are they going to be anything about Minecraft Earth?
Ooh, I don't know, but that would be awesome.
All right, we'll sign it off here. And you guys have a good night. And anybody that's watching, hey, thanks for watching. And keep in touch. All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you much.
Bye.
Have a good one. Au revoir.
And let us know when we're cut.
Bonsoir.
All right, good.